Hello and welcome to Heart of the Matter. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the difference between physical anxiety and anxious attachment and what we can do to manage these feelings. But first, I want to answer a question from one of you. How do you change your avoidant attachment style? Awareness is absolutely important. First, you need to be aware and accept that you have certain triggers, and these triggers make you respond and react a certain way. You then want to be able to stay in the discomfort a little bit. It's going to be difficult initially, but the more your body sees that by being uncomfortable isn't going to be the end of your survival, you'll be perfectly fine. Remember, your body is an organism. The biggest concern it's got is to keep you alive. And so let's say, for example, you are having an uncomfortable conversation and you feel like getting up and running out of the room, or you want to get defensive. You remain quiet and still. And you could easily say to the person, hey, I'm feeling really uncomfortable right now. I'm going to try to stay here because I have this urge to get up and leave. And when you stay there for just 2 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever that is, your body starts to say, wait a second, I'm safe. I'm good. Nothing's happening. I'm not in danger. And the more you do that, you start to slowly rewire your brain and it becomes easier and natural. Now, when it comes to your thoughts, you want to be able to sit with your thoughts and your emotions as well. And again, be gentle with yourself. It is not going to be easy in the very beginning, but again, the more you do it, the more your body starts to see that you are safe. Nothing's going to happen. You'll be fine. And then eventually it just becomes you. I hope that answers your question. Now, before we continue into the topic of what's the difference between physical anxiety and anxious attachment, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to this channel. Just hit the follow button. That goes a long way. It helps the algorithm to push this information out to other people who may need this. And we can accept, if you're here already, you know that healing is so necessary for healthy and happy relationships. So thank you in advance, and let's get to it. First, we want to define what physical anxiety is and what anxious attachment is. Physical anxiety is a very natural response to anything that the body is going to see as stressful, or if it sees it as a dangerous situation. The body is going to have physical symptoms. And these symptoms are going to be things like heart palpitation, sweaty palms, and irregular breathing. It's usually temporary and it goes away once the body starts to feel safe again. But if this is something that you struggle with on a regular basis, I would strongly suggest that you meet with your primary health care provider and talk about some ways that you could go about managing this. Now, for an anxious attachment, this, on the other hand, is a pattern of behavior that often stems from your childhood experiences. So people with an anxious attachment style may feel overwhelmed. They may feel anxious and worry about generally their romantic relationships. And they're going to have very intense and immediate reactions and responses to anything that might be uncomfortable. So it might be an uncomfortable conversation. They may be in an uncomfortable situation, and they're going to generally react and respond immediately. There are also people with generally a low self-esteem. And I've had this question more than once. People have asked me, can I be secure in certain situations and anxious in some? Yes. How we react and respond is what tells us if we're someone of an anxious attachment or an avoidant attachment, or we have a secure attachment. So it is not the feeling, because each and every one of us is never going to say something like, oh, I like feeling, or I like the feeling of rejection, or I like the feeling of abandonment. Right? No one wants to feel that. But how we react when we're feeling rejected, when we're feeling neglected, is going to determine what our attachment style is. The reason we want to tell the difference between physical anxiety and anxious attachment is because they have different forms of managing these feelings. Physical anxiety can be managed through a few techniques. Deep breathing, grounding exercises, and meditation are just a few of them. But if you're suffering from anxiety on a regular basis, then you probably want to check with your healthcare provider, and maybe they can prescribe something that's going to help you along. Anxious attachment often requires the help of a counselor or a therapist or some professional that knows about attachment style and who can help you to understand where the root causes are of your attachment style. Most people develop an anxious attachment style in their early childhood experiences, where they might have felt like their primary caregiver, or in past intimate relationships, their emotional needs were not attended to. Maybe they felt like their caregivers were not present, were neglectful, did not give them the love, affection, and attention and validation that they needed. Being anxious means feeling worried or apprehensive or uneasy, while being anxiously attached is a specific attachment style, and it's categorized by a fear of abandonment. And it's an excessive need for intimacy and reassurance. Anxiety can affect both types of attachment styles, both the avoidant and the anxious. It also affects someone with a secure attachment style. But like I said earlier, it depends on how we react that tells what our attachment style is. Someone with an anxious attachment style will want to solve the problem and move on. Someone with an avoidant attachment style may want to run away from the problem in hopes that it goes away. Someone with a secure attachment style is interested in understanding what caused the problem and try to resolve it. And in their minds, anxious individuals experience anxiety in different areas of their life, while anxiously attached individuals will be anxious about things affecting their relationships. They may worry excessively about their partner's love and commitment. They have unrealistic expectations of relationships or what should be their partner's behaviors and actions. They tend to think that their partner's behaviors and action is a direct reflection of who they are, and they tend to take it very personally. And that's where most of the pain happens, because it's not feeling like they are in control. It's feeling like their partner is in control, and their partner makes a decision on how this relationship will move forward. And this can result in a sense of disconnection. Even if the partner is present, someone with an anxious attachment style can still gauge themselves as not good enough. And this can create this vicious cycle of anxiety, which can lead to hostility and ultimately will lead to feeling dissatisfied in a relationship. Managing both anxiety and an attachment style can be a little challenging, and that is why I often encourage us to be very gentle with ourselves. These feelings have very deep roots in our childhood experiences and negative perceptions about ourselves, about our relationships, and people who contribute to those negative thoughts. See, everything is pretty much outward. It's about the experiences, which isn't a part of who we are. It's not within us. It's about how people approach us, how people behave around us, what people say to us. Everything is external. So the healing needs to be done internally so that what happens on the outside does not affect our insides. So it's important that we practice self-compassion, self-care, which looks like journaling, meditating, getting creative. And it's also important that we start learning what skills and techniques that we need so that we could quiet those triggers. And I can't promise that the triggers will go away, but we can learn how to manage them in time so that they don't disrupt our lives and disrupt our relationships. For someone who's dealing with anxiety, it is very important to acknowledge that your feelings are valid and try to find professional help. For you, self-care is incredibly important as well. You want to be able to make sure that your diet is right. You're getting enough sleep. You're getting enough exercise. You're taking time out for yourself, by yourself, and you're involved in activities that makes you feel better. So to recap on this, physical anxiety and anxious attachment are a little different. And because they're different, we want to manage them differently. For physical anxiety, we probably want to seek the help of a professional if we find that we cannot manage on our own. The grounding exercises, the breathing techniques may not be enough. So you probably want to meet with a physician or whomever your medical care provider is, and they'll come up with a good plan for you. For someone with an anxious attachment style, you want to meet with a therapist or a counselor, someone who knows about the attachment styles so they can help you find the root causes of where this all stems from and help you understand your attachment style, how to manage those triggers so that you could have the happy life that you want in healthy relationships. As always, I hope this podcast was helpful and meaningful. I hope that it adds value to your life. And I thank you again for listening, supporting, and for following it. I'm your host, Annalisa Bahadur. Until next time.